Important warning before we begin. Before we dive into the story of one of the strangest and most fascinating rulers of antiquity, we'd like to remind you, experimenting with poisons is extremely dangerous for your life and health. What Mithridates did should not be repeated at home. He was a man with unique circumstances, resources, and medical supervision. Don't try this yourself. It's better to just watch the video until the end. Chapter 1. Why did he start drinking poison as a teenager? What drove a young prince to take potions capable of killing anyone on a daily basis? Mithridates' life began like a real nightmare. He was born into a royal family, but as a child, he experienced a terrible tragedy. His father was poisoned. Soon it turned out that his mother, Lodis, was involved in the crime and now wanted to make her younger son the heir. To save himself, the young Mithridates fled to the mountains, where he hid for several years, constantly expecting assassins to come after him. It was then that he realized a simple truth. If he wanted to survive in a world where politics and poison went hand in hand, he had to become immune to the most common means of eliminating rivals, poison. He began taking small doses of various poisons, starting from the simplest and ending with the most complex and rare ones. Over time, he developed his own universal antidote, Mithridate, which, as they say, contained more than 100 components. This practice became legendary, and its name, Mithridatism, entered medical science. Answer: he started drinking poison as a teenager because he wanted to survive. After an attempt on his life by his own family, he decided to become invulnerable to this weapon so often used in the political games of antiquity. Chapter 2. Why did he create an entire army from different peoples? How can you unite dozens of tribes speaking different languages and following different beliefs and turn them into a powerful fighting force? Mithridates ruled a region where the cultures of Greeks, Scythians, Thracians, Sarmatians, and many other peoples met. His kingdom was like a mini-empire of cultural diversity, but instead of suppressing differences, he used them as an advantage. His army was unique. Heavy infantry in the Greek style coexisted with fast and mobile Scythian cavalry. Artillery and siege machines complemented the strategy, while local tribes provided recruits who knew the terrain better than any foreigner. In addition, Mithridates personally knew many languages and could communicate with each people in their native tongue. This inspired trust and a sense of belonging to something greater. He became a symbol of resistance against Rome, not only for his own people, but for all those suffering under Roman rule. Answer: he created an army from different peoples because he saw strength in the unity of diversity. His ability to speak many languages and use the tactical features of each nation made his army one of the most formidable in the region. Chapter 3. Why did he prepare for war with Rome for more than 30 years? How can you plan revenge for half your life? And why did Rome become his main goal? By that time, the Roman Republic had long been interfering in the affairs of Asian minor states. Many rulers had already become dependent clients of Rome. But Mithridates was different. He believed that freedom could not be given away even for the price of peace. Still young, he gave himself a promise, never to allow Rome to conquer his lands. He spent years preparing, developing the economy, strengthening the army, creating a spy network that monitored Roman politicians and generals. He even created a secret program to teach his people how to live like Romans so they could infiltrate the enemy camp. His war with Rome lasted decades. It included 3 major wars known as the Mithridatic Wars and became one of the longest and largest campaigns of the time. Answer: he prepared for war with Rome for more than 30 years because he saw it as a threat to his people as freedom. His life was filled with the idea of resistance, and he had no intention of becoming part of the Roman Empire. Chapter 4. Why couldn't he defeat Rome despite all his skill? How did one of the smartest and most charismatic rulers fail to win a decisive victory over Rome? Mithridates was a brilliant strategist, diplomat, and general. He won battles, captured cities, and even organized the mass destruction of Roman citizens in Asia in a famous event called the Asiatic Vespers, when hundreds of thousands of Romans and Italians were killed in a single day. But Rome was too big, to stubborn, and to cruel. Every time Mithridates achieved a victory, Rome sent a new commander: Sulla, Lucullus, Pompey, and each time, these men found ways to counterattack. Moreover, dissatisfaction grew within Pontus itself. Some of Mithridates' allies began to doubt his success. Eventually, even his own sons began plotting against him. Answer: he couldn't defeat Rome because he was facing not just an army, but a machine that did not know defeat. Rome was ready to lose in order to ultimately win, and Mithridates, despite his talents, could not overcome the colossal power and determination of his enemy. Chapter 5. Why did he prepare for his final step for 30 years? Why did this great commander, who lived his life like a hero, end it in such a tragic way? After defeats in the Mithridatic Wars, after losing much of his territory, and after betrayal within his family, Mithridates found himself at the very end of his path. He fled to the Bosporan Kingdom, today as Crimea, modern Russian territory. There, he tried to regain strength, but his son Pharnaces began a rebellion. Already old, ill, but still proud, Mithridates understood he had nowhere to run. He did not want to fall into Roman hands, nor did he want to become a trophy, like some wild beast. So he decided to die his own way. He tried to take the poison he had kept for many years, but his body, thanks to years of Mithridatism, did not accept the deadly poison. Then he ordered his assistant, the Roman knight Biton, to kill him. Thus ended the life of one of the most mysterious rulers in history. His death became a legend, and his name became synonymous with incredible endurance and the desire for freedom. Answer: he prepared for his final step for 30 years because he wanted to leave honorably, without surrendering. He did not want to be captured or humiliated. Even in death, he remained himself, a king who fought to the end. Chapter 6. Why did his image become a legend that lives to this day? How could a man who lost a war to Rome become a symbol of the struggle for freedom and incredible endurance? Mithridates may have lost his lands, his army, and even his life, but he did not lose the memory of future generations. His name became proverbial. Medieval doctors named universal antidotes after him: Mithridate. Generals and politicians were inspired by his perseverance. Poets and playwrights created entire works about his life. His story is the story of a man who stood up to a giant. He was not just a ruler, he was a symbol of defiance. And even after his death, he continued to influence history. Roman historians like Pliny the Elder and Justin wrote about him with respect, even though he was their enemy. His strategies were studied in military schools. His ability to speak many languages caused admiration, and his personal experience of survival made him almost a mythical figure. Answer: his image became a legend because he embodied the idea of endurance, intelligence, and determination. Even after losing, he left such a mark on history that his name has come down to us as a symbol of the fight for freedom and personal greatness. Chapter 6. Why did his image become a legend that lives to this day? How could a man who lost a war to Rome become a symbol of the struggle for freedom and incredible endurance? Mithridates may have lost his lands, his army, and even his life, but he did not lose the memory of future generations. His name became proverbial. Medieval doctors named universal antidotes after him: Mithridate. Generals and politicians were inspired by his perseverance. Poets and playwrights created entire works about his life. His story is the story of a man who stood up to a giant. He was not just a ruler, he was a symbol of defiance. And even after his death, he continued to influence history. Roman historians like Pliny the Elder and Justin wrote about him with respect, even though he was their enemy. His strategies were studied in military schools. His ability to speak many languages caused admiration, and his personal experience of survival made him almost a mythical figure. Answer: his image became a legend because he embodied the idea of endurance, intelligence, and determination. Even after losing, he left such a mark on history that his name has come down to us as a symbol of the fight for freedom and personal greatness. Chapter 7. How did he influence the development of medicine and pharmacology? What do an ancient king and modern medicines have in common? We all know that poisons are dangerous, but Mithridates VI understood one important thing long before the discovery of immunity and vaccines. The body can adapt to toxins. He experimented on himself, taking small doses of poisons to learn how to resist them. This was a precursor to the modern idea of immunization. He also developed a highly complex antidote formula that contained dozens of ingredients, from herbs to animal components. This mixture became known as Mithridate, and for many centuries, doctors used it as a universal medicine against all possible poisons. Medieval alchemists and physicians improved his recipe, adding new elements. Some of them actually had antidotal effects. Thus, Mithridates, without intending to, became one of the first to lay the foundations of modern pharmacology. Answer: he influenced the development of medicine because his experiments with poisons and the creation of an antidote became the basis for future research in the field of toxicology and pharmacology. His approach to survival became a scientific legacy. Chapter 8. Why did even the Romans respect their enemy? How could someone who fought against you for decades and caused huge damage be respected? The Romans were a practical people. They respected strength, intelligence, and determination. Mithridates was exactly that kind of opponent. Smart, charismatic, a military genius. He never gave up. He learned from his mistakes. He hit Rome where it hurt most: its economy, prestige, and colonies. Even after his death, Pompey, one of the most famous Roman generals involved in the fight against him, ordered that his body be preserved with honor. And when his son Pharnaces tried to continue the fight, Caesar reminded him, "You are not Mithridates," thus emphasizing that the father was unique. Roman historians described him not as a typical barbarian, but as a worthy opponent deserving attention and respect. His portraits even appeared on some Roman coins, not as an enemy, but as a figure that could not be ignored. Answer: the Romans respected him because he was not just an enemy, he was a great general and statesman. His persistence, strategy, and personal strength forced even the most powerful enemy to recognize his significance. Chapter 9. Why did he collect knowledge from all over the world? Why did this ruler spend years gathering information about other countries, peoples, and technologies? Mithridates was not only a warrior but also a scholar. He was interested in botany, medicine, warfare, languages, and culture. He sent people on journeys to learn more about neighboring countries. He collected knowledge the way we collect data today, for strategic advantage. His library was one of the richest in the region. He funded research, hired translators, and created maps. He wanted to know everything, from battlefield tactics to climate features in different regions. This helped him manage his territories, plan campaigns, and even treat wounds. His thirst for knowledge made him not just a ruler, but a true encyclopedist of his time. Answer: he collected knowledge from around the world because he understood. Real power begins with understanding. The more you know about the world, the greater your chances of surviving and winning. Chapter 10. Why is his story so important for us today? What can the story of this ancient king tell us in the 21st century? Mithridates lives among us not only in medical terms or military textbooks. His story is an example of how one can grow up in conditions of fear and betrayal and still become a leader. It has a story about how knowledge, preparation, and perseverance can stand up to even the most powerful enemy. He shows that being strong doesn't necessarily mean winning. Sometimes being strong means fighting until the end. His life is a metaphor for human resilience, the desire for freedom, and belief in oneself, even when the whole world seems hostile. Moreover, his methods and approaches to survival are relevant even now. From stress management to strategic planning, he teaches us that sometimes survival is also a victory. Answer: his story is important for us today because it teaches, never give up, always learn, prepare, and believe in yourself. Even if you lose a battle, you can win in the memory of generations.